Welcome back into Movement Parallels Life. It's your favorite movement weirdo, Kellen Mylad, and I'm back with part 4 in our flow series. Today's exploration is going to focus on bringing more flow and fluidity to our crawling movements. Now, I'm really excited for this one because, of course, we do crawling movements in almost every one of my videos, and today is just going to be a little different. We're going to get a little bit more experimental, give you the opportunity to get outside the box, bring more creativity into these movements, and we'll see what happens. But I think this is such a great complement to the typical way that we work out, which is usually focused on more intensity, pushing ourselves. It's a little bit more goal-oriented, and that's great. It's also awesome to be able to balance that out with part of our movement practice that's focused more on the process of connecting with the movements, learning about your body, and really exploring your physical potential, even bringing kind of this element of artistry and self-expression to the movements. So that's definitely not everyone's jam, but if you are sticking around, if you're into it, let's get into it. So I will say that this is an intermediate to advanced level practice, and the expectation is that you've got some base familiarity with crawling. If you're a beginner or you're just interested in brushing up on the basics, I want to encourage you to check out my free 10-day course, Ground Movement 101. It's a complete introduction to ground-based movement where you'll get familiar with the basic patterns and the little details that take your movement from good to great. Having a broad and solid foundation of good movement in place is going to serve pretty much everybody, and it's going to serve you in multiple ways, from your everyday life to your fitness to your favorite activities, and making sure that you can stay moving well for a lifetime. So check out the free course. The link is in the description. Otherwise, let's get into the practice today. We're going to start off with a quick warm-up to mobilize the joints, get the muscles active and online, and just give you the opportunity to check in with your body. Take as much time in this process as you need. We're gonna go quick, but if you want extra time, don't hesitate to hit that pause button and catch up when you're ready. After the warm-up, we'll explore a number of different drills. As always, make modifications as you need to. Your movements don't have to look exactly like my movements, and you don't need to be perfect with any of this. Let this be a process, let this be an exploration where you're playful, you're trying new things, you're making mistakes. Smile, have fun, it's all good. Okay, let's get on to the warm-up. We're gonna begin on hands and knees. Spread your fingers, press your palms into the floor, keep your arms locked out and elbow pits spun forward. Some stabilizing tension through your core. Feet are tucked, and just an easy forward and backward rocking action to begin. As you rock forward and your shoulders go past your wrists, actively press your fingertips into the floor and keep pushing the ground away so your shoulder blades stay protracted. You can bring yourself back to center and go through some spinal movements, rounding and arching. Coordinating your movements with your breathing, inhaling on the arch, exhaling as you press the floor away and round. Now maybe you combine that forward rocking and spinal articulation, just creating this easy wave through your body. And we'll come back to this, we'll build on this later. And that can be forward, backward movements or drifting in circles. Pause, bring your hands back just out ahead of your knees, fingertips down, toes tucked. We're gonna rock back and forth, bringing the knees down to softly kiss the floor, and then lift. Plant your palms again, and just a little bit more for the hands and wrists. Press your knuckles down, lift your palms, and lift and lower 8 to 10 times. Then place wrists close together, fingers pointing out to the side walls. and rock side to side. Pause. Turn your hands over. And if you can keep your elbows locked out, in a little side to side motion, or you can lower down and press up, or close your hands into fists. And then one more from this kneeling position. Fingers are turned back towards you, palms facing out, elbows hugging inward, working within your range of motion here, dropping your elbows down towards your thighs, towards the floor. So those are just some of my favorites. Again, if you need some extra time, go ahead, press the pause button. Otherwise, let's get into it. So for our first drill, we're going to begin with a crawl around. So just starting off, getting used to replacing the hands, loading weight into the wrists and the shoulders, breathing with the movements, making crawling soft, and bringing our movement into all planes. We can expand to our foot-hand crawl where the toes are tucked and the knees hovering off the floor. Again, we're focused on maintaining a strongly braced core. Protracted shoulders means we're not collapsing into the shoulders, but pushing the floor away. Hips and head stay at about the same level. We've got length running through the spine. So now we're just going through that same crawl around. And maybe you keep your feet in place and just begin to walk your hands in a circle. So you'll notice I have a wide base with my feet. My hips are a little bit higher. I want to encourage you to make those changes. Don't worry about perfect form. As these movements get so diverse, there stops being one singular perfect form, but rather just what works for your body or whatever situation you're in. And take a moment to relax. And again, either coming back to the squat position or a ground sitting position is a way that you can take active rest. Give your upper body a break from the loading of the crawling movements and just focus on these easy positions. Okay, next we're going to go on back to the foot-hand crawl. And then the idea here, the pattern here is something I call shift and lift. So first, we're shifting body weight. Sitting back, drifting forward, and then begin shifting in circles. And as I'm shifting, when it makes sense, replacing my hands and feet, changing the position slightly, continuing to stay loaded on hands and feet in this crawling position, shifting weight around different bases of support. And then we can add in the lift of the hips to stretch. And we'll include the lifting with the shifting. Breathe deeply. And find where you can rest in the movement. So this high hip position is ideal. Gives you a little break. Then you can sink back down. Get low, get stealthy. Explore these different bases that you can create, different hand placements, foot position. And you'll already probably start branching out into some other patterns that we'll explore later on. Next, we'll put together a spinal wave from the foot-hand crawl. Start in a neutral crawl position. I'm going to begin by sitting the hips back and then coming into the rounding of the spine as we elevate the hips. So we shift forward, rolling forward and opening up at the end, maybe coming to a spinal extension, and then reversing, rounding, sitting back. Lift, round and roll forward. Open, spinal extension. Tuck the chin, round the spine, sit back. Work a few waves. Take some time to pause in the extension position and in the flexion position. Add in a couple more and let it be what it is today. It doesn't need to be perfect straight away, and the coordination of these patterns will come with time and mindful practice. So get just a few more repetitions in. Finish up and find a recovery position. All right, next we're going to look at the transition between our foot-hand crawl and our inverted crawl position. Two primary transitions we're going to use, the pass under and the roll over. We're going to start with the pass under. So you've definitely come across this pattern in our practice before, but let's see how we can make it a little bit smoother today. So our crawl position, opposite hand-foot balance, and I'm going to rotate away from my support arm. And as I do so, my right foot, my foot that's on support, is going to pivot, touch down with the heel. My free leg is going to pass underneath my body, touch down. Then reversing the path, opposite hand, foot support, finding that balance in the extension of the free limbs, and switching sides. So what you can focus on here is slowing down and creating smoothness through the transition. I like to allow the free leg to skim the floor. So we're controlled with the rotation and very soft with the limbs. And then you can begin linking those rotations together. Touch down and then seamlessly flow to the other side. So to see how slow and soft you can be as you go through the pass under. And that first requires that you be familiar with the balance here and the stability, the control for this range of motion and this movement. Play around with the positioning of the hands and feet so you can explore and bring this pattern into all planes, 360 degrees. Last one. Rest and reset. So next we'll look at the rollover transition, which I think tends to be more intuitive for people, but you want to be able to have control over both. From the crawl position, I'm going to extend one leg and then rotate, sweeping it across. Sweep, and let that sweep and the reaching of the leg drive the roll over. We end up in this inverted position. I'm going to release one hand and reach across. Reach until I roll over. Sweep, roll over, reach, and roll over. So the sweep is one way to initiate this movement. Of course, we can elevate and lift the legs, stepping across. Take a few more. Pause and relax. So those are our two main transitions from foot hand crawl to inverted crawl. I want you to be familiar with both of those so that you can be deliberate, be intentional as you decide which of those techniques that you're going to use, or you can combine them. The pass under and the roll over. Pass under, roll over. So just take a few moments to combine those techniques. And then return to a recovery position. We'll continue on from the inverted crawl position. Here again, you want to make sure that you're not melting into the shoulders, but actively pushing into the floor. Arms are locked out, shoulders externally rotated, chest open. So just creating some strength and stability, some familiarity in this position. And we can start with an easy march of the hands or a little crawl around. Being able to play around with the shifting of weight and the repositioning of the hands. Seeing what your range of motion is like. A nice option that we have from the inverted position is we can sit, and depending on your surface, you can spin. Post back up to the inverted, sit, spin, lift. Or we can sit and scoot. So these little variations tend to be useful in a practical sense, and our crawling is usually pretty utilitarian. It happens when we are out hiking or we need to squeeze into tight spaces. This inverted crawl is great for making your way down a steep incline, but we're maybe not in those situations every day. So we get to take these crawling patterns and just create when we're on the floor. Flow around, build the strength, and just have fun with it. So we can explore the angles, get familiar with the positions and creating stability on demand. And like I said, just letting it be fun, feeling like a kid again. Pause for a moment, reset yourself, find a stable inverted crawl position, and then we're going to expand on our range of motion for shifting. Can you pull yourself forward so your hips come to your heels, and then shift back? Maybe your hips can move past your hands. Lift up to a tabletop position. Lift, shift, weight to one side, elevate to a bridge reach. One more each side. And then finishing with just getting used to moving forward and backward and rotationally. And to take that same crossover concept, lift one foot, extend it, Sweep it across. Shift weight into the bottom of that foot. Pull the other foot underneath. You can use that as a way to rotate. Pause. Find a rest position. Take a few moments to reset. So of course, we're gonna finish our practice today by taking some time to focus on integration, bringing these pieces together progressively. So yes, this part of the practice gets a little messy, and that's a good thing. That's the learning process doing its thing. This gives you the chance and the push to get out of your head and get into your body. Let your body take the lead and build these new neural pathways, so eventually these movement patterns become internalized, they become embodied, they become like second nature. And that's where the quality of flow is really fostered. It's in taking these chances to get a little weird and move like you. So again, you can follow along with me loosely or just do your own thing. Starting out, hands and knees, softly shifting, starting to tuck the toes and lift the knees, transitioning into a foot, hand, claw. Stepping around your space, elevating the hips, circling. From a high hip into a spinal wave. Starting to layer in some transitions, rolling over, and passing under. Adding in some inverted crawling. Spinning, transitions, rolling, waving, starting to simmer down, inverted position, lowering down, transitioning to your side sit to relax and breathe. Going with some easy swivels, deep breaths, maybe coming back to hands and knees. Giving the hands and wrists a little bit more love. Revisiting spinal articulation. Sit back to kneeling. Shoulder stretch. Take as much time as you need to close up your practice today and decompress. Hopefully that exploring these crawling movements, you had a lot of fun, but it is very taxing physically. So do take some extra time to give your body that care. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for coming through to move with me. It was amazing to be able to add new layers and more depth to the practice of crawling. If you enjoyed today's practice, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share it with a friend who loves to move. I'll be back before too long with part 5. And in the meantime, I just want to encourage you to keep on moving, keep playing, and keep exploring these patterns, because that's going to be the way that you're going to find your unique flow. It comes together in its own time, in its own way, and it just keeps getting better and better. So keep doing your thing and take good care of yourself. Come back again soon. We'll do it again. I'll see you in the next practice.